Hello YouTube, what's up? It's me, Amaxter. We're back with episode 8 of Behind the Mod Season 2. For this episode, we have a developer for the Aether II joining us, kingbdogz. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. So, what role do you have in the development of the Aether?
So currently I am a programmer in the team, but I've gone through many different roles. Uh, when we actually started developing Aether 1, I was more of a lead designer, and then I've kind of stepped down since then and just focused more on the programming side of things. But I do get quite involved in the design process of the project.
Mm-hmm. So, how long have you been working on the Aether II?
Aether 2, probably been a while now, probably 2 to 3 years. But Aether as a whole, I mean, it's been like a 6 year process. It's really been quite a long time.
Right, because you did the Aether II, I think, came out in 2013. It's
Mhm.
kind of a substantial, upgrade or just a kind of redo of the original Aether. What made you or your team decide to do that?
Um, I think it was the biggest thing that we were trying to tackle at that time was this transition. Like when we were actually developing Aether 2, I think it was around about the time Minecraft started to become quite focused on the multi. So they actually made these changes to the infrastructure of the server. So even single player was like an internal server that you would connect to. Um, so we were really interested in making the Aether an experience that could be played with friends, especially when it came to the dungeon experience. So the Aether 2 basically started with this idea of, okay, we want to make sure that when players get into this experience, they can get into dungeons and they can play it together without there being any problems. And so I guess one of the biggest problems with the original design for Aether 1 was when you defeated a dungeon, no one else could actually play that dungeon anymore. It was finished, it was done. And that's just kind of how Minecraft works. Like when a part of the world has been explored and, like, for example, ore, when it's been mined, that ore is no longer there. So people have to explore further to find more stuff. So we wanted to try and approach this in a way that when a player or a group of players had finished a dungeon, then new players who were at that spawn location could still go to that dungeon and they could actually enter it and play it as usual. So they don't have to go through the trouble of teleporting like 8,000 blocks away just to find a new dungeon. So that's really how Aether 2 started. But it's obviously expanded a lot more than that. We're really trying to um, create this experience that is more of what we originally wanted for the Aether when we began the project. Like, it's just that it's always been a bit of a learning process for us. Uh, I've expanded my skill set so much since I started Aether 1, and only now am I kind of able to do some of the things that I envisioned back then. So yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I find it really interesting how the Aether 2 is really designed for multiplayer, unlike vanilla Minecraft and most mods. Is that in part due to your community and having an official server? What I meant is like, did the official server? Do you think was that a result of that, or were you planning something like that? How did you incorporate the community or fan base into that?
I think the official server was definitely a result of our approach to multiplayer design. I don't even think we actually had an official server for either one because either one didn't even have multiplayer. It was completely single player mod only back then. So I mean, that just shows how old the Aether mod is actually as a project. It was kind of developed even before multiplayer was fully supported in Minecraft. So when we made the transition to Aether 2, that's when multiplayer was actually being supported. We actually also transitioned to Forge. Or then it was, I think it was just Minecraft Coder Pack MCP. I think that's all we had. Oh, actually, no, it was Risugami
Mod loader.
mod loader. That's right. Yeah, I'm trying to remember all this because it was so long ago. So yeah, I think that the server was more of a result of the design more so than um, us doing the server and then saying, okay, we're going to focus on our aspects.
And how do you think the mod has a really big following and kind of this huge extensive lore that you're working on. Why is that?
Um, so I think the thing is that in the future we are very interested in game development as a whole. And I don't know if I've already said this, but our team is called Gilded Games, so we actually have this intention in the future to develop games. We don't want to just do mods. Mods is more of our stepping stone into the game development side of things. So when it comes to like the lore development of the mod, um, I guess in a way, first of all, it is a bit of a practice for us to, um, go through this idea of fleshing out a world and making it feel like something that is real and something that you can actually explore. And I guess, you know, part of that training process will allow us to develop a game in the future. Um, there was another part to your question. It wasn't just the lore part. What would you say
The
before that?
community. Why do you think they're so passionate about the mod?
Okay, so I mean, I think the reason why the community is so passionate for the mod was back when we actually started Aether One. It was it was quite a huge milestone for the modding community. And that's not really just like me looking at the mod and saying like I'm so proud of it and everything. It was just that during that time, there weren't really too many big mods. Uh, like right now, if we look at the modding community, a lot of other mods have done a lot more than Aether One did. But back then, there was only really small mods that added like different tool sets, or like I remember there was mods like that just added a ham block or something. They were really small, tiny tweaks. And the Aether was probably one of the first big mods, and it was definitely one of the first mods to add a new to the experience. So I think all of the passion stems back to that kind of original timing when we released the mod. Um, and I think because we've maintained development for as long as we can, 6 years now, it's always been a little rocky, but in general, we've made sure to develop it as best as we can with the time that we have. And through all those years, I guess we've just developed a community that's really passionate for the idea of the project. And yeah, I think they just really love the idea of the Aether.
Yeah, I mean it's a pretty very extensive mod. You have stuff like going on like the whole menu system and the way I think the way the mod works, it's very intrusive, I guess, in a good way. It really does kind of take over the whole game in a sense.
Mhm.
Has that How does that influence stuff like mod compatibility or working with mod packs now that like you mentioned, the Forge community is a lot or the modded community is a lot different than it used to be when they either started?
Um, that is a very broad question. I guess let me think about that. The thing is that the design of the mod from the get go has always been very intrusive, as you said, and even in the team, there's been some conflicts about whether we should take that approach. Should we try to be a little less intrusive and maybe actually work with other mod packs and everything. And it's not just intrusive in the sense of being compatible with other mods. It's also intrusive in the sense of uh, being compatible with vanilla Minecraft, because some of the design originally for Aether One, um, a lot of the blocks that you mined in the Aether couldn't actually be mined effectively with vanilla tools. They would basically be worse than just hitting it with your hand. So I think the problem is because we've had such a different design approach to the Aether. Um, we've had to set these barriers between vanilla Minecraft and Aether as an experience, and it's caused a few problems, and especially as you said, with mod compatibility. But I think going forward, especially with Aether 2, we've gotten rid of a lot of those barriers, like tools in vanilla Minecraft, they work fine. A lot of mechanics from vanilla Minecraft, they carry over quite well now in Aether 2, and we've started to break down those barriers, so then it's more of a fluid experience that the transition doesn't feel so abrupt. So when it comes to mods, we are very interested in maintaining as much mod compatibility as possible. It's not our top priority. Like the top priority obviously is just getting the project done and developing it as best we can. But I think more than it was in the future, more than it was in the past with Aether One, we are definitely focusing on mod compatibility, and I think mod packs is something I'd be personally very interested in exploring because we've never really cooperated with mod pack authors. I don't even really know of too many mod packs myself that include the Aether because I don't even know if it's very possible to create mod pack right now with the Aether since that there is the as you said, the sort of intrusive experience that it has right now. I don't know if it would work very well in mod packs, but I guess that's something I just have to kind of explore for myself sometime.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned the team kind of being sometimes conflicted over that. As I'm sure most people watching this know, the Aether is a huge collaborative effort. So how do you think having a large team influences development of a mod like the Aether?
So there are definitely some upsides and some downsides to having a large team. I think the best thing about having a team is that the end result for me is much more refined. When you have a group of people who are all very passionate about the project and the end result, it does create conflict because you know some people have different ideas of how they want the project to end up. But as a result of that conflict and I wouldn't even really call it conflict. It's more like we have a lot of constructive feedback between as a result of that, I think the Aether's development process has taken far longer than any other mod in the community. But I think the end results are probably more fleshed out than some other mods. I'm not saying that's like 100% the case for every mod, but I think our development process has allowed us to really critique the experience that we're developing and make sure that it makes a lot of sense. We don't want to just we don't want to develop something that doesn't feel like it fits in Minecraft. We want it to really feel like a natural extension of Minecraft, almost like it could be a real expansion pack that that the Mojang developers would develop themselves. So that's really our goal with the project, and I guess that's the upside of having a large group of people developing the project. But that said, there is the problem that with a large group of people, especially when we're all sort of pitching in on the design and the development of the project, it can cause um, some delays sometimes. And I think that's just sort of a necessary evil in game development to make sure that the end result is better. And I don't have enough experience in game development yet, but I'd say this is a pretty consistent problem that happens in any group of developers. So I don't think it's really unique to us. I think people deal with this problem.
The Aether is definitely a very polished mod, but like you said, no stranger to delays. I think when you're reporting to 1.7, or maybe it was 1.6, you had the plans to do a mutation update, which was going to be a big content addition for the Aether II, which right now is a little lightweight content-wise. But I guess you're now delaying that. What is it like having to make decisions like that during development?
It's always hard. And when it comes to the mutation update, I think everyone in the team has always agreed that it was a bit of a mistake to announce it so early. We were actually making a lot of progress, and it's the thing that sucks is that when we announced mutation, there was a lot of content programmed in and finished. Like we had a lot of it done, but the problem was our scope and our vision was quite broad and quite large. We had some really crazy ideas, and without implementing some of those crazy ideas, the experience would have felt pretty much unfinished, and we didn't want to release something that we knew the community wasn't going to enjoy. Obviously, it would have been way more content than we currently have, but there's no point in releasing something that we know is just not up to our standards. So it's always hard to face the reality of delaying something, especially when you've put so much effort and time into it. But we do feel like it was the right decision at that time. Um, Now, for those who don't actually know, the mutation update has, in a sense, been cancelled, but the content and the ideas and the concepts of that update have all been transitioned and moved into our current 1.10 port. And we're actually developing the 110 port as a open source project, so everyone can actually look at the progress of the port right now on GitHub. Um, Actually, no, it's not GitHub. We have
GitLab.
our own. Yeah, it's GitLab. We have our own little website for that. Um, and a lot of the content and more is going to be added to this 1.10 port. And I would actually say that the experience now is going to be much better than what we originally planned. It's just that, yeah, the unfortunate thing is we had to delay it. We had to go through some of those hiccups, but I think again, it's just something that happens in development, and what we have done in facing these realities, we've just kind of looked at ourselves as developers. We've said, what can we do better? And I think the biggest thing is the communication within the team, and making sure that we can stay focused on a schedule and meet those deadlines. But you know, as I've said a lot now, I think in game development, it is just a big problem. A game development philosophy that I've seen a lot of times is that, whenever you have a release date in mind, just double the amount of time because it's usually never going to work out for you, no matter what. Even if you 100% are certain it's not going to work out, so it just happens.
Yeah, it's understandable. You mentioned the open source thing, and that was actually my next question. How do you, because the Aether for so long was kind of this, close knit team developed mod, and now you've opened it up to help with the port to 110 that you're working on. What made you decide to do that, and what has that experience been like?
Okay, yeah. So the reason we went to open source is recently we're transitioning into this development approach where we want to be as transparent as possible with the. We want people to see the progress that we're making, because I think the problem was before, even though we do like the idea of hiding all of our content and hiding all of our plans, so then when we finally release it, it's this massive surprise and it's like really exciting for the community. The problem with that is that when something went wrong and we were quiet for months or even a year at a time, to the community, it just looked like we were doing absolutely nothing. And that was a big problem for us. So the reason we transitioned to open source is we want people to understand that we are working very hard. I mean, I work sometimes 12 hours a day lately, and for the past 2 months, since I'm not actually employed. I'm not in university, but I'm attending university next year. Uh, I've got a lot of time on my hands, and I am developing basically at a full time rate right now. So with that open source approach, people can see that, and I think that's great. And that's not the only benefit. The other benefit, of course, is that other developers who are interested in maybe contributing to the project, they can offer their support. They can look at the code. They can say, this part could be done better, or they can offer some sort of suggestion. And that's always just a great part of open source. And further than that, if people want to learn, if maybe they want to learn about one part of the code that we've been developing, they're free to check it out, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it definitely is awesome. I think it's definitely more benefits than drawbacks. But I wanted to talk about the Aether for so long. It's been this mod that has this kind of mysterious aura around it. Like you mentioned, it was such an early mod, and it's such a kind of amazing mod for its time. And now, of course, you made it go open source. Some of your design decisions are more compatibility or just practically focused. What do you think or is your team going to try to do to keep that kind of sense of wonder in the Aether or mystery or surprise now that you've kind of changed the way you develop it?
That's a hard one. Honestly, we don't really know. We don't have any particular plan of how we're going to keep the mystery and the excitement around the updates. I think um, the best way for us to do that is just make sure that, because right now we've got a system planned where builds will be released for patrons every week, I believe. I think it's every week or every 2 weeks. So maybe by doing those, weekly or fortnightly builds, the development in between will still be seen as kind of mysterious because I don't think everyone's going to go to the GitLab and they're going to check out every single commit. I think only the very hardcore fans are going to do that. So for people who still want to be surprised, and generally that will be, I guess, the casual part of the community, they will only see, those changes every 1 to 2 weeks. And as a result of that, I think there'll still be generally quite a lot of excitement. The excitement will transition from being like these huge releases where a lot is being released all at once to instead basically being excited every week. So, even if it's just like a new creature, just one new creature, it'll still be something. And I think that's kind of more beneficial than waiting like 6 months for a lot of stuff. Instead, you'll slowly see it grow over time and you'll slowly become more excited for the project.
Yeah, that reminds me of something I think you were doing a year ago, where on your Facebook page or one of your pages, every week you were kind of doing community updates in an attempt to be more transparent.
Mhm.
Are you still gonna try to do something like that, or do you think this whole open source model, like you mentioned, is kind of the new version of that?
Uh, I don't really know if we have any plans right now, but honestly, yeah, we are open to the idea of uh, posting anything on the Facebook or the Twitter, like just putting out as much as we can about the progress and the development. Because as you said, I mean, not everyone will look at the GitLab. That might not be something that they're interested in doing. So we definitely would like to set up some sort of system, like community posts where we actually let people know what's going on. I think we've tried to do that a little bit. There have been a few screenshot posts every now and then on the Facebook page showing like I think recently we showed one of the new creatures and one of the new biomes in one screenshot, and that is definitely going to continue. And we're going to, you know, try to do that as often as we humanly can.
Hmm. And I guess let's shift gears a little bit. So the Aether II is very, like I mentioned before, it's not complete content-wise, and you've mentioned this, and of course your team is working on completing it. But there's still some people, I think a small but passionate subset of people who are looking at the Aether 1 and who really want that to be updated to modern versions of Minecraft. What do you think of that?
Um, I think there's no problem with that. I think, in any gaming experience, we have a lot of nostalgia for earlier versions, anything, whether it's like, the original game versus the sequel. Even if the sequel is still great, some or even sort of objectively better, some people just still have a lot of nostalgic feelings towards that first game, and I have no problem with that. And even myself, I've booted up old versions of the Aether and I've wandered around in it, and even though it has so much less content than what we currently have, it gives me so much nostalgic feelings of when I originally developed it and when we originally it. And even, I remember watching old Let's Plays of people playing Aether 1, and it just brought all those feelings and memories back. So I think we are 100% okay with that. And thankfully, we actually have someone in the community. His name's Kano, who is developing something called Aether Legacy, which is a port of Aether One, at least up to a certain point, a certain date. I don't know that specific date, but basically most of the Aether One experience for newer versions of Minecraft. And we are actually going to officially support that and host it on our launcher. So when you boot up and launch Aether 2, you'll also have the option to play Aether 1.
Huh,
I
that's
don't actually know when that's going to happen, but it's going to happen sometime in the next month.
Oh, cool. That's something to look forward to. Um, yeah, and it is neat how you have this kind of. I mean, you do have a really, I guess, tied together community because of the launcher and the server that does help unify your fan base much more than I think many other mods are able to do.
Mhm.
So, in general, for the future of the Aether 2, where do you see that going in the near future in terms of progress on the 110 port and what lies ahead of that?
Well, the 1.10 port is very close to actually being released to our patrons and also to the public because we recently hit our second goal on our Patreon page. So that means that even the public will get in development builds of 1.10. But even despite it being currently in development, it's actually very close to the original content that we had for 1.7, but a bit tweaked for our new design vision for the project. And, you know, I can't talk really too much about specifics, unless, of course, you want me to, but um, we have a lot of great things planned either. We've got NPCs planned, we've got villages planned. We've currently been developing new biomes, a whole new generation system for islands where you actually, for example, you might be able to ride an air whale to a nearby island. That sort of interesting gameplay ideas. We've got a lot planned, and a lot of the technology is actually just being finished. Now it's just basically into this mode of just implementing it in terms of the art and the design.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's kind of one last point I wanted to touch upon. I think one of the reasons the Aether is such a, just kind of a special mod is because of the music and the textures and just the whole, not just technically, but just the content is very unique and very polished. Do you think that's another benefit of being a team project?
Definitely. I mean, I have a bit of background in art myself, and I could do a lot of these sprites as well, but probably not to the standard that we've actually been able to output for the project. And that is really because we have a dedicated art team, we have a dedicated design team, and we have a dedicated programming. And because of this distinction, we're able to let the art team really focus and really critique their work and polish it as much as they possibly can. And I have so much respect for the artists. They have done an incredible job, and I think um, it really has, made the distinction between other mods just because of how much polish there is in the visuals and the general aesthetic of the project. And that doesn't just come to the art. That's also the music. The music, in my opinion, is really cool. I haven't seen. I mean, I'm not too up to date with the modding community, but I haven't seen too many mods do their own unique um, music that is being written from the ground up. And I'm really proud that we actually have that in the project.
Yeah, that's a huge part of it because not only the visuals, which some mods do better than others, but you're right. I don't think I can think of any other mod that has custom music like that, or if it does, that's as recognizable and unique to that mod.
Hmm. And I
But yeah,
have to point out Emile van Krieken. He's the writer of this music, and he's done an incredible job. You can actually, if you want to listen to any of the soundtrack or any of his other music, he actually has a Bandcamp page where you can listen to it all for free, or you can pitch in a few dollars if you want. But yeah, he's done an awesome job.
yeah, that's awesome. Definitely shout out to him. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on today. It's been an honor having you on and talking about the Aether. Any more closing thoughts?
No worries. Not really. Just forward to 110 coming out soon. And yeah, I really hope that the Aether's future is bright.
Yeah, me too, and I'm sure so does the community. Thank you for coming on again. Thank you all of you guys for watching, and see you in the next one. Goodbye.
Bye.